to the entertainment Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. I'll have a few videos up today. I'll also be working with Fireside Giants around 2:30. Not sure if that'll be up on the channel today or tomorrow, but that should be a lot of fun as I have them on for a podcast. I was on their channel a couple weeks ago, so really looking forward to that. But in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the comments that came out of the mouth of Brandon Marshall regarding his old team, the New York Giants. Well, he was on the Herd on Fox Sports, and I know this is his job to be outspoken, to give his honest opinion. He was asked whether or not he thinks the New York Giants are a well-run organization. I'll give you his quotes. Some of them are pretty interesting, to say the least. That's the word I could come up with there, and I do not agree with most of it. So I'll give my opinion at the end of the video, but, this is not a surprise to me. He was here. He said they're great. I remember somebody showed it to me on Twitter today. He was saying how great of an organization they are, how excited he is to play there, called them one of the top 3 organizations. Now he goes on and bashes them. Landon Collins has done that. Number of players. Eric Flowers did it. Number of players that have left the New York Giants have come out and bashed the team. And have they made some mistakes along the way the last 6, 7, 8 years? Yes. That does not mean that they're a lost organization. The New York Giants, in my opinion, are still one of the best organizations in the sport. They're starting to right the ship. But we'll jump into what Marshall had to say, and I'll give my opinion on it regarding some of these quotes. First quote we're going to pull up is this. The former Giant and 6-time Pro Bowler was a guest on FS1's The Herd on Thursday and was asked if he thought the Giants were a well-run organization. He didn't hesitate to say no. Oh, you put me on the spot right now. I did not. I think they're great people. I think they're a great organization, but I don't think they're disruptive enough, Marshall said. There are a few organizations like the Chicago Bears, the New York Giants, even the Pittsburgh Steelers, where it's all about history. All right, well, the first thing I'll say to that is, I'm assuming because you're coupling the Pittsburgh Steelers with the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears, you're saying that they're not a well-run organization. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not had a losing season since 2003. They have the most Super Bowls in NFL history. They only have, 6 or 7, I think it's 7 losing seasons dating back to 1970. You could argue with the way that the things are, the way things are in the NFL, how there's constant parity, the way they've been able to maintain consistency over a 50-year period, they may be the best run organization in all of sports, let alone football. So when he puts the Steelers into this, he already sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about. The only thing here that makes any sense to me, why he would put the Steelers and the Giants in the same category in terms of being poorly run organizations, I can't speak for the Bears. He did play for the Bears. The Giants and the Steelers have both shown in recent history that they're not willing to put up with diva wide receivers. The Giants got Beckham out of there. The Steelers got Antonio Brown out of there. That's the only thing that adds up to me. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants have 10 combined Super Bowls, and they're some of the best teams in the history of the sport. And they're going through a rebuild because, well, they're moving on from their franchise quarterbacks. That happens. That happens to every team. Just so happens that the New York Giants maybe should have tried to start the rebuild a year or two earlier, but at the end of the day, I think the Giants are going to be fine. I trust this organization. I think they'll get right back to where they should be. And the same could be said for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even last year without Ben, they still finished either 500 or 9-7 or 8-8. I can't remember. As far as the Chicago Bears go, yes, they're an old organization that has a history. I think they were one of the original teams in the history of the sport. But yeah, the Chicago Bears have not been consistently good, and they're a team that's built on defense. And I guess these are teams that traditionally don't want to air it out. They want to be built in the trenches in the defense. Maybe he's talking about that. But at the end of the day, the Steelers have been the gold standard in the NFL, and they will continue to be. Next thing we're going to pull up. They don't want to change certain things. They want a certain guy. And I think that puts them in a box when the game is changing every year, when the culture of the kid is changing every year, when the culture of the coach is changing every year. So I think, yes, they have great leadership, great people, but they're so rich in tradition, and they want to preserve that so much that it handicaps them from actually competing today. And, all right, well, let's talk about the coach. The Pittsburgh Steelers went out there, and the New York Giants went out there, and they thought outside of the box when they brought in their coaches. Mike Tomlin didn't have much of a history. Joe Judge didn't have much of a history. I was actually surprised that the New York Giants selected Joe Judge, and I was surprised that the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Mike Tomlin when they did. They're organizations that usually once experienced. They're thought to be some of the best organizations in the sport. Usually they can handpick their coaches, and both the Giants and Steelers thought outside the box. So I honestly don't get it. Joe Judge to me is a fresh start. It's something brand new, something the Giants haven't done in the past. In terms of the culture of the kid and the guys they're looking to bring in, well, the New York Giants have shown that they're not looking for divas. And I don't think any team should be. The New England Patriots don't look for divas. They brought Antonio Brown in because they thought maybe that in the right scenario where he thinks he can win a championship, he won't act out for a year. But the Patriots don't deal with that either. No team wants divas on their football team. And if they are divas, they get rid of them real quick. And that's what the Giants and the Steelers did. I mean, I think every team should strive to have guys that are good for culture, guys that are good teammates, guys that are sticking up for one another, not putting themselves above the team. And that's why the Steelers traded Antonio Brown, and that's why the New York Giants traded Odell Beckham. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me here. Next thing we're going to pull up. Ironically, Marshall also told Cowherd that the New York Jets are actually a well-run organization, while also calling that fact a shocker. Marshall's tenure with the Jets was a much longer stay than his time with Big Blue. Let's jump into the Jets. And I'm not trying to bash the Jets. I have a lot of great Jets subscribers. I consistently talk about that I think Sam Darnold could be a good quarterback. Jets are my second favorite team. I do not hate the New York Jets. But let's talk about the Jets. How in the world can you say that the New York Jets are a better run organization at any time in history? I'm not even talking about present day, 10 years ago, whatever. Giants are a better run organization than the New York Jets. Period. End of story. The New York Jets a year ago allowed their general manager to draft and then fired him directly after the draft. That's something that the New York Knicks would do. The New York Jets, outside of that 2-year spurt where they went to the AFC title game where they completely ruined it by bringing Michael Vick, Tim Tebow, the circus, and ruining their quarterback's confidence, and they had to start from scratch, have been one of the worst run organizations in the sport. The last 2 years prior to this year, and the Jets had a good draft this year, okay? They did. Jets had a very strong draft. I think they did a great job. And they had a good free agency period. The 2 years prior to this, they spent more money than any team in football. On free agency, they brought in Le'Veon Bell on a contract. Now, you could argue the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley when they didn't have an offensive line, and maybe that was a bad decision as well. But at least they didn't sign a guy to the highest paid running back in football when they couldn't block for him. And he was coming off a year of not playing football because they wanted to sell jerseys, and they wanted to give their quarterback a weapon. But the New York Jets, over the course of their history, at least recent history, have shown that they're trying to capture the back page of the headlines. That's the only reason why they brought in Tim Tebow. That's the only reason why they brought in Michael Vick. And they've been an organization that has not shown patience. They brought in Brett Favre when he was like 40, Neil O'Donnell. I mean, I'm not trying to bash the Jets, but to say that the New York Jets are a well-run organization, a team that hasn't been to a Super Bowl since 1969, and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants are poor-run organizations, just shows that Brandon Marshall doesn't know what he's talking about. And to me, the only thing that I could read into these quotes at all of why he would say what he said was that the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't put up with divas. They're about the team first. That's what they do, and other organizations, I suppose, do. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me. I think the New York Giants are building the right culture. I think they're building this team the right way, and I think they're bringing in the right players to build it, and the coaches and the staff. I'm happy and I'm proud of the path that the New York Giants are going down. Their leader, Saquon Barkley, is a team guy. Okay, Daniel Jones seems to be a team guy. Okay, and the New York Giants have a rich history, and they're going to continue to have a rich history. Like I said, they're going through a transition phase. When you lose your franchise quarterback, much like what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going through, it's going to take a few years to get back on it, especially when you don't have a coach like Bill Belichick. But I think the Giants made the right decision with their coach, with Joe Judge, and I think they're showing the ability to change with the times by bringing in a young mind like Joe Judge. And the same thing could be said for the Pittsburgh Steelers when they brought in Mike Tomlin. I think these comments are just ridiculous, to be completely honest with you. And I know the people that will agree with them will be people that love Odell Beckham, or people that love Antonio Brown. But that's the only thing that I honestly could gather from this that makes any sense when he talks about the players. And I think he's completely wrong. I think the Giants made the right decision trading Odell Beckham, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely made the right decision trading Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown belongs in a straitjacket. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.